Welcome back to Spirit Squared. I'm Andrew Darrington, your host. Today, we're in Gun Barrel City. I'm so excited to be at one of our sponsors. But before we get to that, let's thank a couple of our other sponsors. We've got the Bolt Arms Humidor. We've got Josh Simmons, who's a great oil field consultant. Thomas Red, who is an awesome contractor in Lindale. And we've got Raymond Plunkett as well. He's an insurance guy for us and really a good supporter of us. And then we got Scott here at the Holler package store. We're going to deep dive into that. You guys always know that I kind of go into a little ramble about the customer service and all that good stuff, but we got plenty of time to talk about that. Before I introduce Scott, I want to talk a little bit about what we're having as a beverage as I hang over there. We're going to talk a little bit about Scott and Hoot Holler's barrel picks, and we're having a little bit of his Wood Forest barrel pick to start the evening. Scott is the owner of Hoot Holler. It's great to have you here, and we're going to have a fun time talking about you and your business and all that good stuff. So you grew up in Dallas, it's a huge city, and that was a while back. It's changed quite a bit since then. So talk to me a little bit about what it was like growing up in Dallas.
Well, I was actually born in Belgium, and my parents moved to Dallas when I was 2, so that's pretty much all I remember. But it has changed over the years, and actually shocked it, from what I remember and what it is now. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool watching it grow from where it was to where it is now, and it's also kind of a little unknown thing at the same time. Right, I can't get anywhere. But I grew up there, and I don't know where you want me to go from there.
I mean, what were some of the things that kind of led you to be who you are now, entrepreneur? And
we'll get started into the business element.
So, I mean, you started mowing yards. I mean, obviously, we spent some time together before this podcast, and you shared with me some of the things that you started to do to kind of get you on the path of entrepreneurism. So, mowing yards and landscaping.
So got my first dabble in that. My parents had me cut the grass when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And, I had to do that as a chore. So just, you did it, you sucked it up. Sure. Did it as a member of the house. And then the neighbor came over and was like, "Hey, son, you want to come mow my yard?" And I'm like, "Sure." And you're like, "Well, what do you want for it?" I'm like, "I don't know." And so, I mowed the next door neighbor, and I think he gave me like $5-10 or something like that. And so I was mowing him, and then the next neighbor's like, "Hey, you want to cut my yard? You want to cut my yard?" And then I was spending, Saturday morning, I did like 6 of the neighbors. And I had $50 in my pocket all of a sudden. And I think I was probably 11 or 12 at the time.
Right.
And so I'm like, that's a lot of money for dirt back then too, for someone that age.
Yeah.
So I kind of got addicted. It's like, this is kind of cool. It's way better than my allowance. So I went in, I designed a little door flyer, wrote out something. I went up and down the block. I introduced myself. "Hey, it's Olden. I live at this house. I'd be happy to cut your yard." I picked up like 10 more yards instantly.
Right.
So just from an early age, I started, doing that. And and I just kept expanding. I had I think I was up to, maybe 80 to 100 yards while I had a driver's license. So I was pushing a lawnmower, about 3 or 4 blocks, different directions. I ended up hiring a guy that had, I was early 20s or something. We bought a truck, and he started to drive until I could get, I had a learner's permit. We would drive, and, so it was my first employee. So I'd go to school. This guy would go out and cut yards for me. And I just kept, was addicted to the challenge. Like, how big can they get? How many yards can we get? I'd have friends and stuff that would come work. And, one of my early lessons on that was, it's a responsibility. And, I made a commitment to somebody. And, sometimes if friends would like, "Hey, this doesn't work that way. I mean, you told me we'd be here, Saturday morning. I got stuff I've got to do."
Right.
So kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is something you told me was that when you made money, there was a certain amount of freedom that came with that too, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I got, so as I would want to purchase something or do something, I'd be like, "Hey, it's just a matter of, it's a function of figuring it out and you going out and earning it and so forth.
Sure.
And it's kind of funny too, is after, I beat my parents' lawnmower into the ground. Like, hey, you've got a business that you can go buy your own equipment.
Really?
So, so they actually kind of propelled me into running it like a real business.
Yeah.
I ended up actually, I didn't know where I wanted to go to college. I had a pretty good clientele account, so I decided just to stay local and go to SMU. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to give up all the revenue. So once I got to college, I hired, students and other people, and just spent my time between growing the business and going to school. And so it was kind of an exciting time for me back then.
Yeah, yeah. So you go to school locally, SMU?
Yes. Yep.
Yep. Go to school, and then where did Casa Rosa come into play?
The second job I had.
Yeah.
So in the wintertime, there's no grass to do. So I had to, I was responsible for paying most of the cost over there. I had a couple of scholarships and stuff, but and back then it was like $5,000 a semester or something. Nothing like it is now. It's for sure cheap, but it was a lot to me back at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up taking in the winter. I ended up like, hey, I'm gonna try something else. So I ended up applying for a job and getting a job at a restaurant at the time the restaurant that we ate at growing up.
Right.
And I got in there and knew nothing about. I mean, I enjoyed eating, but I didn't know anything about working in a restaurant. And I picked it up pretty quickly. And I started figuring out and listening to the customers,
Right.
and started maneuvering and adapting to kind of like, hey, this is what it's going to take to earn more money. I mean, it's all about being Johnny on the spot with stuff. I started doing stuff that the other waiters weren't doing. Like I tipped out the busboys when they got busy. They would, the first tables that would get busted would be my table, and then they'd be like, hey, why are you? Hey, I give them money at the end of the evening.
Right.
I mean, it was just, I don't know, common sense stuff for me, but it wasn't something a lot of the other people were doing. And it was, I got, another lesson that I learned from that place was, it was a very successful restaurant. It would get super busy at times. Like any restaurants I know now, you get in the weeds, the kitchen gets in the weeds.
Sure.
I remember this one incident where I go into the kitchen, I just scoop up some queso, and I go running out, and the manager looks at me and he's like, hey, what's going on there? And it's like, I'm giving these guys some queso. Like, where are you trying to charge them for it? Like, no, I'm not going to charge them for it. And I'm like, their food is like over 30 minutes, I'm trying to put out a fire. He's like, well, I was like, well, nothing,
Really?
Like, it's a 50-cent bowl of cheese to keep 12 people happy.
Yeah.
And it's just, he goes, well, you need to get permission. I'm like, anyway, it's just frustrating. You could see a simple solution.
Yeah.
You don't have the empowerment to take care of it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, from a customer service side of things, you probably did a lot of growing in that regard. Because you got heavily interaction with people compared to just mowing yard where you do a deal and then you don't see them a lot of times, right?
correct. Yeah, and I enjoyed it.
Problem solving too. Trying to think like you just did.
Yeah, problem solving, things like that. And you know what? And I hate to say it, when I learned that the customer's also not always right.
Yeah,
You gotta be nice and all that, but you would like listen to, I guess judgment call. Ultimately, it's not your place. You're not gonna offend somebody, but you kind of like, yeah,
right. Yeah, for sure. All right. So after you get done with that, and I'm assuming that because we didn't really talk about kind of the timeline of how things were kind of structured out, but there was a time in your life where you felt compelled to have a journey of health, right, and get back get in shape or get back into shape.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I ran cross country. So I enjoyed running. It was a sport that I did. It was something kind of worked around, and all the, I guess, working behind the lawnmower, I got lots of exercise that way.
Yeah.
So, I was like typical. You go to college, you put on weight. I was busy doing the lawn stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually pushing the mower as much anymore. I had I think at one point, like 15 crews,
Wow.
40 something people working for me, and so I converted to a desk job kind of that. And I'd go annually to the doctor. The doctor would be early 30s, like, hey, you need to lose a little weight. And every year, he was like, hey, there's some medications and stuff. I'm concerned about your cholesterol and all that. I'm not going to do any of that. And so, as I started to get into my late 30s, I'm like, okay, wake up. I got to do something. I can see how the lives of other people have gone, you do medication and all that stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get back into running. So I started, just started doing it. I mean, I couldn't go very fast, very far.
Yeah.
And I went from, I think my doctor's appointment was in the early, like a January. And I was getting ready, my birthday's in March. So I think it was 38 at the time. And I was like, all right, I got to get back in shape before 40. And so I started running, and then I worked all the way down to, by the end of that year, I ran like the White Rock Marathon, fast enough, qualified for the Boston Marathon. First time I've run a marathon. I was able to walk in that following January, I'd shed like close to 60 pounds. And the doctor's like, holy cow. And I'm like, what? I even, was motivated.
Changed.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was just sort of one of those things that you can put your mind to it and make it happen.
Right.
So,
What was it about running that kind of, you mentioned something about there was some competitiveness that you had whenever you were racing, or
I've always been a super competitive person. Probably annoys my family and some of that stuff. I'm like, I do not like to lose. I mean, it pretty much everything I've done. Like back to the waitering days. I'm going to get more tips. If we had a contest there,
Right.
Like, hey, today we're going to sell this. That was the best menu on the item.
Right.
It's blue enchiladas today. I had it for lunch. It's phenomenal. Ching, there's another one. Hey, it's whatever the mission was, I was right there.
Yeah.
So, and naturally you're running against other people and so forth.
Sure.
And so, you just, I don't know, it just kind of would motivate me as you're going along. I mean, I'm running down, you're tired, you're sore. I was like, that guy looks about my age, I passed her. Oh, there's some lady. I don't want her of Evie. I don't, so it just gives you that extra drive and so forth.
Yeah. My wife and I, during COVID, we went to Utah, and we go to Zion National Park. It's our first stop. We fly into Vegas, drive up, and do Zion. Well, the second day we're there, we do the Narrows. For anybody who knows, has done some hiking in Utah, or specifically Zion, the Narrows is one of the hardest hikes you could do because it's in water. Well, half of it, you're kind of weaving back and forth, and it's very difficult. It's about 7 miles in total. Well, the first couple miles, you have people that are probably in their 60s and some in their 50s that are struggling. They're just kind of getting a mile, 2 mile in. That's it. We get to like mile 4, and you start getting into some falls, like small waterfalls. And we rented walking sticks, and we're kind of, you pass up your walking stick, and then somebody pulls you up, and then you pull up the next person. It's pretty unique. Well, anyway, we get into like mile 6, and we trained for like 3 months prior to this hike, or just the hiking trip in general. And there was a moment in time, I remember this clear as day, because my wife's pretty short. She'd been in water all the way up to her chest, close to her chest, and then my waist, but we get into this one spot where it was pretty dry, and we look around, and everybody that's around us, there's not many people there, but everybody's in their 20s and 30s, and we're in our 40s, early 40s, and we kind of looked at each other like, hey, all right. I mean, in the moment, it wasn't about being competitive, it was just about driving. And it was one of our first hikes. I mean, had we done the Arches first or Salt Lake City, we would have been destroyed. I mean, it was a very, very hard hike. But I can definitely identify with that. I'm going to pour another pour, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited about this one. This one is Old Ezra 7 rye pick. This one's going to be wildly good. I mean, I think I'm more excited about this pick than any of the other ones that you've mentioned to me. In fact, you texted me and was like, hey, which of these do you think that we should look at? And I was like, I don't see any of these online at all. I think you may be one of the first stores to ever get one of these, to be honest with you. Unless samples went out all at the same time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that you've already picked the barrel. I'm excited to taste it.
Are you looking to optimize your drilling rig operations and maximize productivity? Look no further. Rex Consulting is here to power your drilling. With over 20 years of industry experience, our expert team provides tailored solutions that drive efficiency, safety, and profitability. From site assessments to cutting-edge technology integration, Rex Consulting is your trusted partner for land-based and offshore oil and gas drilling solutions. Ready to take your rig to the next level? Contact Rex Consulting today and send your operations to the next level in operational performance. Contact Josh Simmons at 918-637-9181. Rex Consulting, level up.
After you had your journey of health, you were sharing with me that there were a couple events that I know you said you did the Boston Marathon. There were other challenges that you had, right?
Yeah. So when I was running and training for that, one thing, I mean, you don't want to get injured, and so I ended up joining. So that January, I joined a group. I was at a store, had a couple of times meeting where you go out and run with other people and so forth. And I got to talking to one of the guys there, and he's like, he did triathlons and stuff. And I was like, hey, tell me more about that.
Sure.
And so I ended up, running, and then on the off days I would cycle, and eventually, got into the swimming and so forth, and kind of added that into my repertoire. And so I actually kind of really enjoyed it. And so then I took it to the next level after that.
The
extreme, yes. And that's where my competitiveness came out on me on that one. I got to the point where I was doing, I just enjoyed competing. I would sign up and different distances, sprint, Olympic, all the way up to Ironman. And I would sign up and I enjoyed going out on the weekend and racing it up. And there was one year that, so in triathlon, you have to sign up and give a little membership card and pay. So you get I guess, Bruce will say a license to do it through, it's a sanctioned sport. And one year I got a phone call from USAT and said, hey, congratulations, in the region, you had more races than anybody else. And I'm like, oh, cool, there's an award for that. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. So come to our banquet and so forth. So I ended up going to the banquet, and it was an award, and it was a $500 prize. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know about it. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to do that again next year. So the next year, and I think I raced like 26 races or something. Now, wow. So the next year I did 27. It's like, oh, but one more than the previous year. And when I go to the banquet, there was another guy that did 27. And I was like, dang. And I was like, I had done 28 if I'd have known that. And I didn't see anybody. And so I was talking with the guy. The guy was, just kind of doing them also as a hobby, but he wasn't. I looked up his, being competitive. I looked up all the stats and all his information. It's like, man, he sucks. It's like, he's not very fast. And so it's like, but he did the prescribed stuff. And so, I'm kind of sizing him up, and I was like, well, we'll see you next year. And so the next spring starts, and I see him at like my first race that he's at, and he was like, oh, I'm not going to, kind of downplay, I'm not going to race that much this year. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the next weekend, I see him at, another event. And I was like, hey, Jerry, I didn't think you were racing much this year. It's like, well, I got permission to come out. And I was like, uh-huh. And so then I was like, all right, the game's on. So I got to the point where I started doing races, and I would get, so as I mentioned, they have different distances, like some sprint and all that. I got to the point where I was signing up, and I would talk to the race director, and I'd be like, hey, can I do your event twice? I'm like, what do you aim? Like, can I do it and then do the course 2 times? I'll pay the entry 2 times. And so I was showing up for an event, and I was racing, finishing it, and then getting back in the pool and doing the event a second time. And there was one weekend, like a Memorial Day weekend or something, I raced 2 times on a Saturday, 2 times on Sunday, and then I went and did a race on Monday.
Oh, my God.
And then the following weekend, Jerry's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to keep up with that pace. Yes. But I was just doing it and yeah, it was.
You were just being super competitive.
Yeah, I was just being super competitive. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, and you're super in shape too.
I was super in shape. So yeah, I kind of dialed in, and I was probably doing 20 something hours of training every week.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was.
How were you handling like the job and you had a this is what were you dabbling into real estate yet?
No, I was just, I mean, when this was going on, no, you know what I may have been? The real estate was one of the things. So the way I actually got into that was, so the landscape business was going on. And, it had that up and running. It was mature, had a good staff. I mean, but when what was it, 2007, 8, the economy just went,
Yeah.
and
Bubble burst.
the bubble burst. And so, and I've got all these employees working. I was like, man, I got to figure out something to do. And so, luckily, we did a lot of maintenance for our landscaping day. And what I found was, what people, like on our more affluent homes, that they were like, hey, I'm unemployed, but I got to spend my time looking for a job. But yeah, I'm going to cut down on like the flowers and stuff like that. So we definitely, had a dip. But I'm like, hey, I got to figure out something for these guys to do. So I saw like a beat up house for sale, and I'm like, hey, what do you guys know how to do? I'm like, does anyone know how to tile? Does anyone know how to do? And so I'm like, what the heck? Let's buy this thing.
Flip out.
Yeah, and I mean, stupid cheap. I mean, we were buying property, like $30 a foot. I mean, I was going in. It was, the banks couldn't give them away fast enough.
Right.
And so we got one home, and we went in there. Didn't know really what I was doing. I kind of tweaked it a little bit, and
Snap going on the wall.
yeah. And I was like maybe halfway into this thing, and I was like, I think this was going to work. So I went out and got a second home, and then I got another, and no one was buying. I mean, it was literally to be home for like, let's see, $70,000 they were asking. And then they'd go to 60, and then they'd go to 30. I mean, then they'd go to 50, and then you come in, it's like, well, I'll give you 45. And, the bank would be like, fine, just take it.
Yeah.
And so but I was able to keep the guys employed.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, and I found a bank that would eventually, like, hey, if you fix this thing up, we'll get an appraisal, and we could, I could go out and get a loan against the one that, get it rented. So, I was able to, churn a house that was useless into one that we could rent. And
So you're renting them out?
yeah, I was renting it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I built a rental portfolio. So I just take, yeah, so my little formula was what I figured worked. But I loved old homes from the 50s, pure and bean.
Yeah.
But what I'd do is I'd go in and I'd find something. The sweet spot was a 2-bedroom, 3-bath. If it had a garage, that, was perfect. So if anybody could use that type of home.
Sure.
You need 2 bathrooms, 3 kids, or 3 bedrooms. And so that's what I would look for. Kind of the, I bought a couple homes on slab. I was like, they always seem to have issues.
Down there.
Yeah, I couldn't move the plumbing around. So we'd get in and just, open it up, and if we needed to add another bathroom, we would and stuff. But yeah, so I ended up, I think from maybe 2008 to or it was about a 4-year window, and then prices started to recover and didn't really become economical to do that anymore. So, and that was about the time that I got into the running and all of that. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Did you leverage a lot? Were there a lot of eggs in the basket in that?
on the
So before we got started, one of the key learnings you had from your real estate days was don't put all the eggs in the basket.
oh,
What did you mean by that?
what I mean, well, diversify.
Yeah, at this point,
mean, diversify.
You've got a landscaping business, you've got a home remodeling business, and you've got a rental business.
Yep. Yeah, and I was all over the place on stuff, but I guess I had the flexibility, like I said, in thinking about outside the box.
Sure.
And everyone was, people were like, "What are you doing?" I mean, that's a good idea, but now, in hindsight, people are, "Oh, I should have been doing that too."
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I should have been like I should have been taking out loans on credit cards and buying. I mean, the property,
Yeah.
was nothing. But in the moment,
Yeah.
you have to kind of take a leap of faith that it's But I mean, I'm looking at it, and it's like you're getting things at $30 a foot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't even build something for that, and just forget the dirt and all that's underneath it.
Right.
So
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it was, I'm like, I know it'll work. So it's a little bit of a gut check, and you just jumped in and I went for it.
All right. So you got landscaping business, you got a home remodeling business, and you've got a rental business. And how does roofs come into play?
Oh, the restaurant. So, back to the waiter days.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, a critic when I go out. And I had my 3-month period of working at a restaurant when I was 20.
Pro.
When I'm pro with 3 months, at 20 years old. But and I'm like, you know what? I could do this better. I want to have, I'm gonna have a restaurant one day. I want to be the guy that's in charge. I want to be the guy that can authorize, say, hey, get that queso out. Keep these people happy.
Right.
Let's do what it takes. So we're driving out to our house. We have a house at Cedar Creek Lake, and we're driving one day, and there was just, and I'm still dabbling in the real estate. So if there's something that looks intriguing, I see a sign. I was like, yeah, what is this? Is this something I might be interested in? So we called on it. I'm like, what are they selling here? And it turns out it was in an old building in downtown Eustis, and it was the building and the business and all that. And the place had been closed about a year. I was like, well, this is about as cheap as you could get into the restaurant business.
Yeah.
I think I ended up paying like $80,000 for the building, the restaurant, everything. And we went in, we gutted the thing, it's kind of fun working in that environment because people were curious. Small town, everyone wants to know what's going on. And so we'd be in there. It's like, hey, what are you doing? And it was funny, just have rumors. I hear this is going to be a Chinese place. I hear this. And it's like, no, it's the same thing it was before. It's home cooking. It's going to be, exactly, then you listen to what people, I took notes.
Yeah.
Like, what did you like about, it was called Sue's Roost before it would close down. And we kicked Sue out and just made it The Roost. But I listened to people when they came in, when we were doing the remodel. And it's like, what did you like about it? And, so I was taking notes, like what items on the menu did you like? What did you not like? And stuff like that. And then I took things that kind of annoyed me when I went out to eat. Like for instance, there were 2 bathrooms in there. And what I hate is I go in, I want to wash my hands. And then you go to the bathroom and there's somebody in there. And you're standing. And it's like, this sucks. I also want to order. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to put a hand washing station for the customers right over by the bathrooms. So if somebody just used to wash their hands, they can wash their hands.
Yeah, like Rudy and say Rudy's does that.
Yeah, I mean, just stuff like that. Big thing is we did, everybody does it now. But back then, people were like, yeah, it stunk because everybody finished lunch at the same time to go back to work. And it was a big line at the cashier. And so they had a cashier station. And I was like, well, that's silly. It's taking up real estate that people could be eating at. And I don't like waiting in line. So, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy a POS system that they can pay at the table.
Yeah.
When they're ready to go, they're ready to go. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how I jumped into that. And that was 2019, I think. We just, last year was our 5th anniversary in January. So it'll be 6 years come this January.
Well, you still have it.
Yeah, I still have it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still,
And it's one of the notes I put down here is that when you reflect on that, it's kind of you kind of recognize, look, people will pay more if they get the service and the quality of the food.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went into, and again, I went to a lot of the other competitors and what people were doing and so forth. And, it's a balance between like what your area will tolerate and what they're paying and stuff like that. But I'm like, hey, you've got to balance the expectations and the experience. I mean, if you're providing timely service, good food, people are willing to pay for that. But then you also set the expectations that you got to deliver on that. Like really early on when we first opened, I remember this. It kind of bugs me still. I don't know if the lady ever came back, but it was maybe first or second week that we're open, and people are curious. They're coming in, they're eating, and my kitchen goofed up their order so bad. People are getting late. They weren't. They were getting the wrong omelets and just different stuff. And I didn't get green bell pepper in mine. Mine got mushroom, and just they weren't marking what was what. And the lady was getting we waited a long time, and and it's like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. And of course, I'm thinking, I just spent all this money, just opened all this, I'm trying to, and so I'm like, well, I'll give you like, 10% off. 10% off. I've been coming here like, every day since you, and I'm like, oh, well, but at the time, I mean, you could tell she was frustrated and all that. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't like offer enough. And it was kind of, I mean, we'd really goofed up the order or whatever. I mean, it was almost comical. It's just like every time somebody would come back out, it was, I don't know, just something minute was wrong with it, but it was still wrong and our fault. So it was kind of like, you know what? You got to take ownership of the problem. And so it's kind of now, it's just like it's an easy fix. People appreciate taking ownership, fixing it, moving on, and all is good.
Right.
In fact, that's probably even more important than the free meal. And I don't know if you ever go out and the gratuitous, hey, would you like a free dessert? We'll make it. It's like, I didn't come here to eat dessert. I just came here to have just solve the problem and make it an experience that I could enjoy. I mean, I don't need learn from it. I don't need free things. I mean, resolution.
Yeah, for sure. So you still have that, and then you decide you're gonna have another restaurant and a food truck. Is that right?
Yeah, it was during COVID, right? It was during COVID. My craziness. So,
By the way, the Old Ezra 7 is
you enjoying that one?
amazing, very, very good, in a great way. I'm going to transition to you've got a Whistle Pig pick too.
We got a Whistle Pig pick, yes.
That's coming. So
all four of these are coming. I mean, we're loaded up.
Woodford Double Oak. We've got Old Ezra 7 Rye, which I've never seen anybody get. And then we've got a Whistle Pig, which I've done a couple of these, so I know it's going to be good. So talk to me about this another venture.
Okay.
But did you see COVID coming before this?
Who saw COVID coming?
But I mean, what the thing is you did it during COVID, or
Well, no. So here's the deal on that. So we're driving down 175, and it's totally, parking lot. And I'm like, oh crap! We're trying to get out here for the weekend to go to the lake. And so, I pull out the phone, like, how do I get around this one? And it's right before Kaufman. And so it's like, oh, okay. If we exit and go straight, like you're going to Canton, I can cut through Kaufman, get by all the stuff, and then get back on our way. So, and I don't drive. I'm typically that's not a way I would normally go.
Yeah.
So, and I'm paying attention to the phone, trying to just, make it as quickly as possible. And we get to the house, and, we're in two cars too. My family's, so I'm in one car with one of the kids, and the others are in the other car. And we get to the house, and I'm like, so we didn't make a comment on that, old building for sale. I'm like, what old building? Like, you didn't see that, like, when we got off and did the detour and looked at, no, I had no idea. It's like, oh, we thought you would have, like, had been intrigued by it. It was like a big for sale sign. I'm like, no, but tell me more. And so they were like, yeah, there was an old, like, Sonic or something that was sitting there. And then I'm like, all right, well, on the way home, I'll pull by and, like, look at it.
Yeah, sure.
So we go back. I drive back through the Kaufman. I'm like, yeah, sure enough. There's an old defunct Sonic sitting there. And so the wheels start to spin. So, what can I make this into? And so, I'm a restaurant expert at this point. I've had one open for maybe a year, and it's going good. So I end up calling, on the sign, and it took a while. We negotiated back and forth. And it was with old Sonic, and they had moved out, and I talked to the old owners. I was like, well, why are you selling this? And they're like, well, but the new menus and all that were required to carry all of this stuff. We just don't have the space, and they were honest, like, hey, the building needs this and that. And this, it was in the price reflected it. So I was like, okay, so it's a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I was also at the point where I had a bunch of properties. So I'm like, okay, I'll sell one of the houses, and then I'll put it into the restaurant, It sounded easy peasy. So we ended up, making a deal, and I lined up a bunch of contractors, figured out what I wanted. We gutted the thing, totally redid it, did a really nice job on it and everything. And in fact, when we were doing the naming, the family had a really good time with this. Like, what are we going to name it? And I'm like, so we went, everybody did a lot of suggestions, and one of the kids threw out the name Detour, since we found it on taking a detour.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and the concept of the restaurant was, in taking the advice of the previous person, is keep it simple. It's like, you know what? I was doing research on food. Like, hey, one of the most popular food items out there is a burger. Like, all right, we're gonna do burgers, and most popular dessert is ice cream. So we're gonna do burgers and homemade ice cream. So while I was under construction, my youngest son and I, we flew to Florida, where they have this guy puts on a clinic and like a weekend ice cream making school. So we sat through his class, and there were some other people from the other, also dabbling and maybe being into the ice cream business. So we went out there and, kind of learned what the process was. We bought a very expensive ice cream machine that makes big batch ice cream, homemade and all that. And I was like, okay, we're set. We're going to do ice cream. We're going to do burgers.
Yeah.
And then boom, March comes, COVID's here.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this sucks. Right. So that kind of slowed things down. We ended up opening that later that summer. And what stunk was, on the, relief and stuff like restaurants. So our original restaurant, because it was open, we had it's a different story. We had the cars down and did the takeout and all that. But, Uncle Sam came in and offered relief and things like that. But if you didn't have a business registered prior to February of that year, you're out of luck. Yeah. So by the time I opened, I'm like, well, it is what it is. So that's the kind of how we got into that one.
Is
And
it still going?
no, that's the one thing, if I had, I don't want to say it's a regret, but if I had one thing, that's kind of my, we ended up having, so I closed it down. I still own it. I still have the truck and everything. We ended up, back up on the truck here in a second, but, I ended up, which title wise, I had that going. I was there, for like the first maybe 6 months. I was really, really, engaged, and we were, I had some hiccups getting out of the gate. It was really weird. I had a hard time finding employees there. I have one restaurant where I've got really great staff, and I had another restaurant where all I could find were like high school kids. And that's a disaster. I work with high school kids at the other restaurant doing like, plastic tables and stuff like that, or they got more supervision.
Entry level.
Yeah, you leave for like 20 minutes, and they're on their phones and they're doing stuff, and so that was kind of a challenge that I had over there. And then during all of that, I had a real estate agent walk in, and while I was at the cafe, and said, "Hey, I've got some property that you might be interested in." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's that?" And he's like, "You familiar with Hootin Holler?" And I'm like, "The liquor store over in Youngdale?" She goes, "Yeah, the owners are going to be retiring, and you like businesses. So, I mean, you were talking to me about wanting to buy some more property." And I'm like, "Oh, tell me more." So we came over and met with the owners and looked over everything and ended up working out a deal. So as a side note, I now have a new liquor store, a restaurant that's somewhat established, and a little incubator thing. And right prior to that, I had just bought this huge food truck. Right. We were going to Canton with it and stuff, and I mean huge. This thing's 38 feet long. It's got a full commercial kitchen inside. Wow. When the health inspector came out, he was like, I've been looking at, inspecting trucks for like 28 years. This is the third one, only the third one I've ever seen that has like a full bathroom in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was an old, the reason I did it is my envision was, hey, we can go out to do events on a weekend, and that's one of the requirements. You have to have a place for your employees to use the bathroom, wash their hands, and stuff like that. But I'm thinking big. I'm thinking, hey, this thing will hold like 1,000 hamburgers.
Right.
We had, way cut fries, and it had tons of space. And so I'm like, this will be a mega
marquee place.
This will be the marquee place. So like when we go, so we did several of the first Mondays and stuff, and that was fun. But yeah, it got to be, I had too many irons in the fire at that point. And I just could not give, I could not get that reliable manager to keep the,
It's incredible how crucial that person is.
People were everything in business.
Yeah.
A lot of, I had, you find a key person, you take care of them.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of people that have worked for me for many, many years, and that's it. That's probably your number one assets, the people to work for you.
Don't
Number one asset, right?
100%.
I mean,
And if you could trust them, and they're a producer, then you take care of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
The Humidor is your online cigar retailing headquarters. Our experienced staff has spent years finding some of the best cigars from around the world to sell to our customers. If you're looking for an online cigar store that can help you find your next favorite smoke, welcome to the Humidor. We began the Humidor because of our deep appreciation of the finer things in life, a good conversation with friends, an aged whiskey, and, of course, a fine smoke. That's why, in addition to selling premium cigars online, we also operate a brick-and-mortar cigar lounge in Tyler, Texas. Our lounge is crafted to provide a classic ambience with modern sensibilities, and we've spent time ensuring that smokers and non-smokers have an enjoyable experience, whether they're there for a drink with friends or to enjoy the game.
Hey, podcast listeners, are you in need of some top-notch libations to elevate your next gathering? Look no further than Holler Liquor Store in Gun Barrel City, your go-to liquor store for quality drinks. From smooth bourbons to crisp wines and everything in between, Holler has one of the largest and most diverse selections in East Texas. Planning a special occasion? Let our experts guide you to the perfect bottle. You'll receive excellent customer service not offered in the big box chains. Visit Holler today and let the good times flow.
Firearms. Extensive selection of handguns, rifles, shotguns, and accessories. Knowledgeable staff to assist you in finding the perfect firearm to fit your needs. State-of-the-art gun range equipped with the latest technology for a safe and thrilling shooting experience. Take advantage of our professional shooting instruction and training programs suitable for all skill levels. Host your next group outing, corporate event, or bachelor party at our spacious and secure shooting facility. Committed to promoting responsible gun ownership and firearm safety. Fully licensed and compliant with all state and federal regulations.
You've got, so you've got the truck from that. The property is, you sold the property?
No, I got it. It's all just,
You got the property.
yeah. I mean, I got dreams of, I get so, again, it's the competitiveness.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to fail.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just putting it on the back burner.
Do you still have some real estate portfolio?
Nope. No, it's all I have now are the business.
No landscaping? Still do landscaping?
I do not do landscaping. That is the last leg of my most recent. So after, this actually would be, next year would be our, I started the landscape business in 1985, so it would be, 40 years? Yes, the next year would have been the 40th year. So I had an opportunity to purchase another liquor store over in Rice. It's called the Bottle Shop.
I got you.
And so, I went over there, and I knew after getting into this business, I've been enjoying it and so forth. I was like, you know what? I think if I have an opportunity to do a second location, I'd like to do a second location. So,
When it's not that far away.
no, it's not. It's not a 40-minute drive from here. So that's perfect. It's in the next county over.
Yeah.
I went over and I looked at a lot of different stores and like, this one. Then I saw that one and I was like, okay, there's some opportunity here. So I went and talked to the owner. He was like, hey, you know what? And his life had somewhat changed. Just gotten remarried. He moved to Dallas. He was living in Corsicana. He'd been doing it a long time. He had that burnout. I had the burnout on the landscaping stuff. I'm like, gosh, this is, you do something. I mean, I didn't have any passion on the lawn stuff.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, and the people there, I mean, great job. I mean, it was like clockwork. I mean, we had very few problems. They handled stuff. I mean, it was running great. So when we finally worked the deal, I'm looking at how I'm going to finance it and pay for it and all that sort of stuff. And I sat down with him. I was like, hey, I have a question. And I'm like, and this doesn't have anything to do with my ability to buy the business.
Yeah.
But would you entertain like doing a 1031 exchange on the property? I've got some stuff that I want to sell. And I would rather I can lease it back or whatever. Well, where do you when you sell one? Maybe I'm interested. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what I got. I've got a condo in Dallas that I've had that just tired of messing with. I have a landscape business. And technically, if you want, I have a hamburger stand. I have a burger place in Kaufman. I've got some other, tracts of land or whatever. And he's like, well, tell me about the landscaping business. I'm like, oh, I kind of perked up, it's like, hell, I'm going to tell you about it. And so he's like, well, I might, that's when he told me he was moving to Dallas and was looking for something to do.
Yeah, sure.
And so I was like, well, come check it out if you're interested.
Yeah.
So we ended up swapping. We went to the closing, and it was my landscape business and a condo for his liquor store, and he had a mini storage unit next door and cash. So that was kind of the deal on that one.
Cool.
And people were like, this is an unusual closing. Don't normally see.
So this is Hoot Holler. How long have you owned Hoot Holler?
So February would be 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Okay, and then the bottle shop is fairly recent.
But bottle shops is
Couple months?
It was a couple months. Yeah, we are
Still learning kind of the ins and outs.
well. It's in a transition period right now. I have that thing. We're still open, but half our stuff is like squeezed over to one side of the shop. And that's why I say huge opportunity. It hadn't had anything done to it in years. So I'm gutting it. I'm reworking the floor plan. Kind of like here, I want to get his white selection and all that. Yeah, and bring in a lot more products and things like that. Have a fresh new look. Probably don't know if I doubt you've seen the building.
No, I've never been into that one. I need to get over there.
It was really day. It
There's a lot of pictures online. I mean, there's people that have posted pictures and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of got that old school vibe, liquor store, almost like a gas station in Vegas look.
Yeah, and so here's the thing I figured out. And now I'm competitive. I'm checking out the country. What are they doing? What do I like? I'm when I go on a vacation, like where's the liquor store? I want to see what products do they have in this state that we don't have, and where does it look like, and things like that. And I was like, okay, the stores these days have to be inviting, shoppable.
Yep.
No bars on the windows, none of this sort of stuff. I mean, that place had all the stuff that was you didn't want to go in on. You want it to look warm and inviting. So. We're working on making it warm and inviting at the moment.
Speaking of warm and inviting, this Whistle Pig is warm and inviting. Yes, it is. It is very nice. Very nice. So something for me, look, in East Texas, we don't have a lot to choose from when it comes to liquor stores. Well, I mean, we do, kind of. But you've got Harley's, which is Goody Goodies, up in Longview. And it's like a Specs to me. You walk in, you get maybe one hello, and then you're just kind of walking the aisles, figuring things out. And then you've got a couple small package stores there at Longview. Then you come around to Winona, which is you've got mostly package stores, or you've got kind of the drive-through. I'll call them drive-through. You may go in, but you're pretty much there for one thing. You're there for the Crown Royal. You're there for, the Jim Beam or whatever. And then you swing, down this way, and you got Zips, which is very commercialized. It feels like you just kind of walk in. It's nothing but racks of just things. And I went in there actually before I came here, and nothing against them. I mean, that's just the way that they operate is just put things on racks. I mean, I could set that store up in 30 minutes. Just give me a couple boxes, and I can just kind of set everything up and start unloading boxes of liquor. But what I've experienced here is that your business model is quite a bit different, where you've got your employees doing a little bit more research into some of the bottles that you're offering. Because for anybody who's never come to this liquor store, you've got more labels than any other liquor store I've ever been to, and that includes Total Wine and Specs in Dallas or in Terrell. There's more labels here than any other liquor store I've ever been into, unless you're talking about some behemoth in Vegas or Bright, some other places. But you've got people that are talking to you about like, hey, what's your palate like? What do you like about this? What's your favorite about it? We're not just limiting ourselves to whiskey. We're talking about tequila. We're talking about wine too. And so I think that's a big difference that people should understand about your liquor stores, that you're not going to just be greeted by the the minimum wage person that's gonna have their head in their phone, right? I mean, you're gonna have somebody in the aisle with you, kind of talking to you about what your needs are, what your wants are, who you're having at your house that weekend, what kind of party you're having, what kind of things can we put with this. Oh, wait a minute, I've got some ready to drink items that if you don't want to spend half of your night making old fashions, here's some that are already pre-made that are just as good as maybe what you can whip up, but it'll save half your night. I think that's a big, big difference between what you offer here compared to what I may experience driving 45 minutes more to Dallas.
Well, that was part of the decision process at both locations. I observed the staff. So especially the one I just bought, I spent a lot of time, before they knew anything was up, like going in there, checking it out, seeing how they interacted with the customers and all of that. Sure. And at both locations, it's like, hey, because I already had that bad experience with a hamburger place. I was like, I can't be at two places at the same time. So you've got to have key people. And I was like, you know what? This is a keeper staff here. So that's a big plus. Doesn't matter how good my vision is if I don't have the individuals and so forth. But and at both places, interesting more to hear because I've had it longer. A lot of reps come in. We stop. Everybody samples things. We spend a lot of time going through a lot of products. We say no to a lot of stuff. For some things, it's like, we don't like it. We can't recommend it. So almost everything on the shelf somebody's tried could speak to. And everybody has their niche or what they like. And so we'll stop somebody. It's like, hey, there's a gin. You're our gin person. Tell us what you think. And then they'll be able to go in and they're like, you know what? I like the notes on this. It's got, I think I can sell it. All right, good. They're like, it's similar to some other stuff. So, okay, well, sorry, we're going to pass on that one. So we really vet what we bring into the store. And, there's thousands and thousands of things released every year. So you can't physically carry it all. So we're trying to get things that
You're getting close.
Close. But we're trying to get stuff and unique stuff. I mean, everybody out here, you go and did a bottle of, Janus or Tito's and everything in the store.
Sure.
We're trying to be like, hey, we want stuff, to expand and try something new. It's like, we got just, what do you like? And we're able to pair people up with, at least based on the knowledge, based on the information they're giving us.
Right.
And you've got your reputation there. And so, hey, I really like the wine you recommended last weekend. What do you got now? Or I really like this whiskey, or that was a cool tequila, whatever So
talk to us a little bit about, behind the scenes, owning a liquor store, you have to work with distributors, right? And so these distributors are making recommendations for different drinks. You talked a little bit about sampling them. And I like how you said, hey, look, it's not just you, or you having your staff sample it, and they're telling you, not. But I mean, the feedback I can give you from, I know a lot of distributors because I work with them on barrel picks and things like that. And they love the fact that you're open to bringing things on board that you may not see in other stores, or you may have other store owners not consider it. Walk me through how that, so is it more just making sure that if a distributor brings something to you that you show them the respect to at least consider it and then walk through the process and help them get their products on shelf?
Yeah.
Or is that part of what it takes for you to be progressively better in the business?
So, I mean, we get presented products multiple times a week, and it's easy. If it's a great product, like this is great, we'll take it.
Yeah.
It sells itself. If it's something that we think someone off, we'll give up. I mean, the best feedback is honest feedback. It's like, hey, this is why we're not going to purchase it. So, I mean, sometimes it's good, but then we see what it's going to cost, and it's like, I don't know how we're going to sell it. It's just too expensive. I mean, there's other spots, places that, other product in that price point.
Yeah.
That, but in general, most people don't just come with one bottle. They're bringing a bunch of stuff. And so sometimes they're like, hey, out of what we got here, what intrigues you? And, they'll give the background story on the distillery or the the formulation of the cooler or whatever it is, and we'll like, this sounds interesting. And so we'll just kind of work our way through, their portfolio and make some decisions on that.
Yeah.
And it helps. I mean, to be honest, if they're willing to, because the other things don't sell themselves. I mean, I've noticed, just put it on the shelf. Nobody knows what it is. I mean, you've got to advertise and advocate for it. I'm like, hey, if you're not going to have it, so if they're willing to, like, hey, if we buy several cases and you can give us a couple of sample bottles, or if you come out on a weekend and are willing to taste it, like, yeah, cool, because that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, just making a sale and sticking it on there, it's just going to collect dust.
Yeah. Before we start getting into barrel picks, which we've kind of talked about a pretty good bit, but I want to talk about some of the ones that we have on our car gear, which for those that are just listening to it on Spotify, you're not going to be able to see it. We'll talk a little bit about it. Let's talk about allocation. I know we're going to talk a little bit about your point of sale system here in just a second, but is there a leveraging that a store owner has to do to gain access to more product that is limitedly released?
Oh, here. The elephant in the room, the allocations. Yeah. One thing that everybody. Yeah. So the allocation, basically all allocation is, it's smaller produced stuff, that people want or think they want. And you get people will come in, just tunnel vision. Hey, this is all I want.
Right.
And truthfully, the way that it works is it's distributed based off of what you do for the that manufacturer or whatnot.
Yeah.
So if you're not carrying their SKUs and all their brands, a chance of getting like that one sought after bottle from them is slim to none. And even if you do get it, you still have to move the product and do orders and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's all really based off of the volume that you do with the individual company.
Yeah. Would you consider it? The way I look at it is it's almost like a spiff. So if I sell, and your volumes are much different than what I'm thinking of. But back in the day, whenever I was selling things for a company, if I sold 100 of this, then I got access to these items, and it's pretty prevalent in the gun world too. I transfer guns for a living, and so if I'm ordering a pretty good bit from one manufacturer, boom, all of a sudden here comes a Colt 38 Super that I've been looking for 6 months. Where's this been? Oh, I just placed a big order for 20 guns that got you $15,000 worth of sales on your end, and all of a sudden a Colt 38 Super shows up. How's that? Whoa, okay. So it's a little back scratching, and making sure that you support. I think that your store does a lot of success in the allocation market because of your openness to try things, look at things, and order things that maybe another store.
Yeah, we try to be supportive of all the brands. Yeah, some of them, and honestly, each distributor works a little bit different. Sure. I mean, some of them are pretty transparent.
Yeah.
On how it works. Others is kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
A lot of this, I don't know why we're not getting any of that.
Right. There's a little cat and mouse game.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, and in fairness, or I don't know, kind of sometimes being out here in East Texas, you kind of scratch your head. Like, hey, you guys forget about us? I mean,
right.
I mean, we're doing, I think
the point I was trying to make is that, oftentimes I'll have guys that come to me and we'll kind of joke about, talking about the whiskey club, we'll have guys that we'll be chatting and we laugh about the clerk saying, you ask them, hey, do you have any blends? Do you have any of this? And they go, oh, no, we don't have any, but they have some, but they may be storing it for maybe a more valued customer or somebody they see more. They know they spend more money there, whatever it may be. Distributors doing the same thing.
Yep.
They got it, but are you spending the type of money that you need to in order to gain access?
Well, correct.
And that's the thing. And so that then bleeds over to the consumer. So if you're ordering SKUs and you're ordering product and you're doing the types of things that get you that allocation, whatever, how big or small it is, if it's small, then it makes it even harder. If it's more, then it makes it easier. But nonetheless, who are you going to reward? you're going to reward the people that you see coming in, spending money with you week in and week out, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so that's a healthy transition to your new point of sale system.
Yeah. So what we decided to do on the allocations is,
Well, first off, you're changing your point of sale, right? So we're going to a new software that will more actively track consumers' purchasing.
yeah.
right?
So when I bought the store, it had its POS system.
Yeah.
We were using ClickFlip's POS. Well, about a year and a half into it, they're like, we're no longer supporting this POS system.
It's a POS.
So I was like, well, crap. No, it's good. We enjoyed it. I don't really understand why they pulled the plug on it.
Right.
So, and it was like, hey, you can go to Shopify. I'm like, that didn't work for us. And so I then began a quest. Like, okay, we got to find a new POS system. Then I bought the second store and it had another POS system.
Oh, a nightmare.
Yeah, so now I have two separate ones. And so, I'm like, okay, we have to have one that does multiple locations and it has to own all these, I had a lot of requirements. And literally, I was like year long. Well, as soon as, so it was like the Y2K thing. We got a notice on QuickBooks. Hey, it's not going to, after, I think it was October 3rd, 2023, we no longer support this. And so I'm like, I got to get a POS. I couldn't find one. And so I'm like, I'm watching the clock and I'm like, well, crap, what's going to happen? And so, when we're running on the POS system and it's not cloud-based or anything. It's installed on our server. And I'm like, well, in theory, it should work just fine, unless they wrote some sort of weird thing in it, like, shut down and never open again on the day after we're not going to support it. So it turns out that, nothing happened when the date came and went. And so like, okay, we got some time. I don't, if it crashes, we're screwed. As there's no
Handwritten receipts, I guess.
What's that? Handwritten receipts or something. Yeah, doing the old school. Yeah. But it bought me some time to actually go out, vet, and look, and like, this is what we want. This is your kind of going on all that. And so we finally settled on one that had a lot of functionality and features that I think would be beneficial to the store. And one of them is a pretty robust rewards tracking program.
Nice.
So before we were doing allocations, like, I didn't know what to do with them. Everyone's asking me for them. I was like, you know what? If you spend some money, you can fill out a raffle ticket, and we're just drawing,
once a month or something.
We were doing it daily, but we were getting enough stuff, on the lower tier things, like, hey, let's sell this stuff. Just pull a name out and offer in the bottle, and then once a month, like the more sought after stuff, we were, calling up people and like,
Was it when you called somebody up? Just looking at it formally, was it close to MSRP or was it a
No, at that time, a little bit more. At that time, and that's just another interesting thing with allocations.
Yeah.
So in some of the stores you go into, they're asking multiples of MSRP.
Yeah.
And so, as a business owner, you're like, well, you could get this, but you know what? It's your customer. But, how am I going to handle that? So ultimately what we decided to do is like, you know what? I'm gonna do the allocations just like I get treated by the distributors. The more loyal and the more business I give them, like the big ones, Sazerac, they have, the Happy Van Winkle, the Blands, all of that sort of stuff. And there's a space solely on, how much of their product out of their portfolio you sell. So if you sell more of their brand, at the end of the day, they send you more of their allocations. So I'm like, well, this is easy. I'm like, just reward the customers who spend more money at the shop. I'm like, if you shop with us, and we're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that to me seemed like a no-brainer.
Right.
I mean, and then also I thought it was something that you could probably educate the consumer on. It's like, hey, this is how it works. And in fact, we're dabbling on, like maybe on some of the products that if we buy more of them, that helps our allocations. Like, that's a double point one or a barrel pick if we're trying.
Yeah, for sure.
You get extra points on that and stuff.
Yeah.
But and so I decided, like, okay, what I'm going to do is we're just going to tier everything out where, if we only get one bottle of it over the entire year, that's going to be a lot of points. Or if we get, several cases a month, that has a lower threshold.
Well, yeah, your lower tier.
Yeah, lower tier and so forth.
So the new POS, just so that, because you and I talked a little bit about it, it's very similar to what you experience at Liquor King.
Yeah.
So I come in, I spend, for every dollar I get a point, or maybe, like you said, for barrel picks, I get double points. And then when I reach a threshold of like 500 points, I have access to this tier of bottles at MSRP.
Correct. Yeah.
And then 1,000 gives me a different one, 1,500, 2,000, what, so on and so forth, right?
Correct.
Yeah, until those bottles are gone. I mean, obviously.
But we're always getting, I mean, we do pretty good volume, so we have a pretty deep selection of
Right.
a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest complaint with somebody who collects bourbon or that is trying to grow their collection is when you get to a tier and then you're spending more than MSRP.
Yep.
So I've done what I needed to do, and now I'm spending twice, or in some cases, and I'm not saying this store or anyone else, that I get to that tier and then it's more than secondary, like more than shipped to my house.
Yeah.
From an online store, from a Fanther or whatever. So that's that part. I'm looking forward to the point of sale system, because then you're rewarding your most loyal customers by a tracking system that then they get to cash in on it, and it feels real. Now, it's not just limited to whiskey, right? It's going to be allocated tequila,
Correct.
and high end wine.
Correct.
And if I so choose to maybe gift my points, I can do that too, right?
Well, I don't know if we can gift.
No, I'd say, but through a gift card.
Yeah. So if you have no interest whatsoever in fancy whiskeys or tequilas, you can convert it.
You're giving points on everything. Like somebody comes in and buys
exactly. And honestly,
cigarette. You sell cigarettes here.
we do. I don't think we're gonna. There's no margin.
Okay.
Like guys, but it's basically going to be, the spirits.
Okay.
Beer, wine, and
Right, but if somebody comes in here and buys a, heaven forbid, Crown Royal, fifth every day, they're going to rack up some points.
they're going to record some points. And if they're not interested in the allocations, then if we already convert it, and they can just give a gift card.
I love it.
1,000 points. Here's $50 gift card. Go buy whatever you want.
Right.
So I'm going to reward people just for their patronage to that again. So if they, and then those that are looking for something exclusive, their reward is, in some of these allocations, the retail price is not that much.
Right.
I mean, you go to the secondary market on some of that stuff.
100%.
So, and well, I guess it's theirs to do what they want. I mean, you see those shops where they're like, hey, we have to open at the bottle at the shop.
And the thing is like, I don't think many people they're not going to be upset at 7 or 10%, 10 points. That's not a big deal. It's when it becomes 40, 50 points ahead of MSRP.
Yeah, correct.
I've accomplished this, and I'm buying a bottle that I could buy, on lot for the same or close to the same price. So I'm excited to see what that ends up being. I think that's a great thing that you're doing. I think you're going to get a lot of patronage for that. I think that you're going to get a lot of loyalty too. I think you're going to have a lot of people that. So let's talk about your barrel picks. So because that's another exciting thing that you guys do. So you've got Harley's Goody that does barrel picks, but they're almost always picked at corporate.
Right.
You guys are picking these barrels. Obviously, you have distributors that bring them to you and say, hey, look, we want to get you a barrel pick. I've been a part of a bunch of barrel picks on my end, so it's a super, super exciting experience. But we've got a couple barrel picks that you've done that have not been released.
These are all the remnant. This is what we see. This is what was left.
Talk about what you've done as far as barrel picks. What do you have on the premises right now that a customer could come in today and they could buy that you guys have picked? And this is a single barrel only for Hootin' Holler.
Correct. So working backwards, the last barrel pick we got in was the Jack Daniel's single barrel.
Okay, Jack Daniel's, which is a winner.
Yep. That was a winner. Very good. Yep, enjoying it. White, like week before that, we got a Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
And then my personal favorite of the year that we got was the Doc Swenson.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll have to pour you some of that
later.
Some amylite cast. It was,
which is hot right now.
it's hot.
Amarena, hot.
It's going to be a great holiday sipper.
Yeah.
We took it actually to I'll talk about the trade show in a little bit, but we took a bottle over there to sample, and some
Big winner.
Yeah, I mean it's just a unique flavor.
Yeah, it is.
Notes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's easy to sip.
Yeah, we still have. I think there's And the other thing is, like, I hold back a little bit just so I can throw some out. I do that on all of this stuff. If I get something kind of interesting, and that's another benefit is, when we get our allocations, I'm going to pull a couple things back so that I can put those out like in the summer. It's like, oh, no, I had it. I was just saving it for proverbially you. I mean, it's just so I'm going to make it so there's always something. Yeah,
there's
some good options in the store.
There's always going to be something on those tiers that people want.
Yes, exactly.
When it gets to, that out.
So that's kind of what I did with some of the, I'm like, hey, put a few cases back, and then when that one's come and gone, we can put them out on the shelf. And, if somebody's looking for, because how it is, there are people that love, store picks, and like, oh, I like that brand. It's a store pick. Yeah, oh, cool.
Yeah, that's how I am about Blue Note.
Yeah.
And you have a store pick of it.
We have
I have a huge affinity for Blue Note. It was one of the first barrel picks I did. I just love it. It's got a great price point too. It's very approachable. Almost everybody fits their palates.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. And it's, like I said, it's an affordable single barrel pick. And I think, what does it retail for? Right around 60 ish.
Maybe not high. I think it's
maybe 55.
Yeah, that.
Yeah,
I think it's
it's sub 60 though,
easily
for a single barrel pick.
Yeah,
that's pretty darn good in my opinion.
Yep.
All right, what else you got? You got Smoke Wagon.
That's Smoke Wagon
barrel pick, which is pretty cool.
We have.
Did you do an Axe Note?
We did not do an Axe Note.
Okay.
We had Oak and Eden.
Oak and Eden. That's what I was on.
I think that was almost gone.
Yeah,
we're on. Oh, here's another case of it. Oh yeah, we put some up there, didn't we?
Yeah, you got 9 Bandits.
9 Bandits.
Bandits.
Elijah Craig
private barrel too.
Yep.
Yeah, look, we got 7 or 8 barrel picks here that people can buy that are single barrel picks. Now, other than, like I said, Goody that does a lot of corporate picks. I'd much rather shop somewhere that is where the staff is doing the picks.
Yes.
And I know that the samples were brought to you or you traveled there, and one of the two.
And we've had them come out where we pick nothing. We go through, it's a fun process. They'll bring, maybe up to 6 or 7 different impressions, and we'll work through it. It's fun because everybody will go backwards and forwards and do it, take notes, and it's always kind of secret. And at the end, we're like, okay, so you're not influenced by the peers. And,
right.
And if we all say there's 4 of them, we all say, we like number 3. And it's unanimous, like, oh, done. Number 3 is it. But sometimes it's all over the place. And so if we can't make up our mind, we're kind of, but that's the kind of the way it is on a lot of these we pick. Just kind of if everyone's on board, then there's a lot of mixed palates here. If they're all going towards the same one, like, that's a no-brainer. It's going to be a solid fit.
Yeah. You can't see my eyes wandering, but I just took a sip of this Garrison Brothers.
What did you pour the Garrison?
136 proof. It's the good bourbon barrel, and you have a barrel pick of it.
That is all. Yeah. So that should be hitting our store any day.
Wow.
Yeah. That one has
This is
been.
gonna be good.
Yeah. Woo. Yeah. I'll revisit myself.
Yeah. What else do we have left to cover before we talk about how we met?
I think we kind of touched on
Pretty
pretty much everything. I don't know. You got any questions or anything?
No, man. I think you've addressed pretty much everything that I had questions on. So we met a couple weeks before we traveled abroad.
Yes.
My wife made me come and meet you because she wouldn't let me go on a trip, an industry trip. Basically, what we're going to do is go over to a foreign country and drink. And so my wife was like, hey, you can't go by yourself. You're going to have to go and meet somebody. And so thankfully, Amanda, who is our Maverick rep locally, shout out to Amanda. She was like, hey, Scott from Boot Holler's going. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. And so I drove down here. We met. We talked for a couple hours.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, we're on a flight to Guadalajara.
That's.
What did you think about that trip?
I thought that trip was, man, I was like kind of a little like you, like, man, with all the things going on in Mexico with flying in and all that. But I think once we got down there and to the distillery, the country's beautiful, the people are nice. The having the personal one-on-one at the distiller, the behind-the-scenes look, We went down to Fortaleza was the sponsors of the trip.
Yeah.
So
Them, Dolph-Lano, and Areque.
yeah. But the
And we were there also during Dia de November.
that's right. That's right.
Which made it very special for me. I did a lot of reflection on how we do recollection of the past and our elders and things like that. It's just a different experience.
Yep.
They're setting up altars, they're decorating cemeteries and crypts, and they've got the pictures of their lost ones. They've got their favorite foods out. They've got all the flowers out, and you've got bands that are playing down the streets and stuff like. It was just a super enriching experience. And then you have Lucha Libre.
Oh, guess
And he admits to the wrestling, which was an amazing experience. If you ever get down that way, you have to do Lucha Libre. It's an automatic yes. I think it was like 20 some odd dollars to get down the front row where I got slapped.
Yep.
That was so fun. After many, many tequilas and some micheladas and beer. And I mean, they just did a great job treating you really with utmost respect. You had one-on-one time, like you said, with owners, distillers of major distilleries that you see in almost every liquor store, and they had top-notch food, top-notch tours.
Yep.
And then transportation. The road sucked. Remember how bad they were?
Yeah.
Oh, they were.
You know what? That's the worst thing to deal with. Is
Yeah, bumpy bus ride, man. It looked like the Wild West.
Yes.
Shuttered buildings and then raised curbs and just cobblestone roads that just made your back hurt. And then the transportation to and from Tequila, like you had Fortaleza and an ice chest. With,
Yep.
Cerveza.
Oh, we were spoiled.
Oh,
Anyway, that was unlimited I mean, gas. Like what would that cost to go out to hey, it's unlimited pours all night tonight at the club.
yeah. And I remember we dressed up one night.
Yep.
The masquerade, and then they have food and all that kind. I mean, you're talking about a couple $1,000, trip. Yeah, three is what I'm guessing. And they just treated us right. I mean, if anybody listening has never been on an industry trip and you're given an opportunity to do it, you definitely want to do it.
Absolutely.
And don't shy away from where they're taking you, because trust me, that industry is protected, and they're wanting to make sure. I remember flying into Guadalajara. We flew in on the same flight, but I think
so.
Yeah,
Took different ones out.
yeah, and then I think
You went on with your wife to.
no. We flew back on the same flight. Yeah.
Oh, did I thought you were doing that? Okay, so
No. But one of the first people I met wasn't an industry trip person, and they came to me and was like, he asked me, was Uber safe? Well, I'm like, I'm not going to advise you. I am not going to advise you how safe it is, but it was a pretty enriching experience for me. I would go back in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially during Dia de los Muertos.
Yes. Yep.
And you got to hit up Lucha Libre for sure. All right. So we're at the end of our podcast. That was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty fast. Do you have a good time?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
Yeah. It's like an interview that you already have a job for. Is what kind of the way I.
But yeah, I just didn't.
Did I get fired? No. But we end our podcast with a shout out, and which is can be a little uncomfortable, but for most folks, pretty easy to identify some folks that were impactful to them. And the great thing about what we do here is we're creating the content that you can copy and paste to a text message. So if you want to, have a shout out to somebody that maybe doesn't necessarily get the recognition they normally should have,
Right.
You can copy paste and say, hey, look, listen to this. You may hear your name or whatever it may be, but 9 times out of 10, it's always friends, family, mentors, people that work for you, that are working hard and all that good stuff. So I'll give you a stage.
Well, I mean, I'm going to shout out to my family, and they put up with me for all these years. I mean, a lot of times, with all my craziness, the racing schedule when I was doing the 50-something triathlons in a year, the long nights at the different businesses, the, having to go in the middle of the night to go deal with a false alarm in a building.
Yeah.
Just all the, they've been very supportive. Constantly throwing the curveball, and they'd probably be no shocked if I, just came up with the most craziest idea. They probably like, well, doesn't surprise me. Go out. But yeah, so they're super supportive. My wife Annalita, and I got 3 kids, and they're all, You know, I pretty much done a good job on making it to all the kids' events and stuff like that. We got a really good, core family and so forth. And also all this wouldn't be possible without my boys and Sarah together over the years. So, but yeah, it's been a real good adventure up to this point, and I need to get back to doing all of the. I probably did a huge pivot on that one, going from being healthy, or going from being sedentary to being healthy, to starting a home cooking. Now I'm peddling cigarettes and alcohol, and I still for the gym or something is my next endeavor.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do. Instead of doing a gym, we're gonna go do a gym.
Yeah. It could be like a 24-hour fitness where just people scan their code in and,
Yeah.
get a shot of whiskey before they get started.
There we go. Perfect. I'll find there's probably some literature about how that and with whiskey or vodka or tequila and fruit.
So we have a guy coming on. He's already been on once, but we have him coming on in February as kind of like a get fit, beginning of the year, New Year's resolution. But his thesis when he was in college was how much alcohol impacted your body and performance.
Okay.
And now what he does is he's a trainer and he trains people that drink. And what he does is he evaluates how much you drink and what type of exercise you need to do, body type, and then he has like a program of accountability. It's an app.
Yeah.
Where you have to post what you ate, what you drink. Like it's accountability for like 8 weeks. And then at the end of it, he's like every 2 weeks, he's like counseling you. Like you can't drink 8 drinks a night. You can't. So he's like, and then you measure yourself, your arms, your abdomen, all that kind of stuff. Hugely impactful. His name's Out Shaw, and he's out of DFW. And great guy from England. So great voice. He's going to be coming on in February. So it is there. I mean, literature is there and research is there. He's done it, and you know what he said? It wasn't a huge impact. People were miserable. They were miserable doing it. So, but there wasn't an impact on the actual. But now, if you did it every day, then that's where the impact comes.
So it's funny you bring that up. You remember the boxer Manny Pacquiao?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So he had a fight, I don't know, probably 15 years ago or whatever, at the Cowboy Stadium out there at Arlington.
Yeah.
So I had tickets to that. I go out to the fight. I have a race, a half marathon the next day. I'm like, oh, it's going to be the worst race ever. I'm like loaded, like loaded. I don't remember getting home. But I do remember the alarm going off at 5 a.m. with my 1 hour of sleep.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of my fastest races I ever did.
Oh yeah, because you're just trying to get it done there.
Nah, but I mean, I thought this is going to be horrible. I'm like, I go downtown. It's this rock and roll half marathon at Blister the course. I think I PR'd that like an hour and 21 minutes.
Whoa.
I mean, I probably
You're
reeked. I probably reeked. But I can attest
right.
that the endeavors the night before didn't affect you the next day.
Absolutely. Well, cool, man. Hey, it's great to have you on, man.
Yeah, no,
I really enjoyed it.
I'm
It was
glad you reached
fun.
out.
And thank you for your support.
Oh, yeah, of
on
course.
the podcast. We try to, highlight entrepreneurs and nonprofits, and it's been awesome, man. We're in the year, we're 1.5 years into this, and we've got a lot of support, and it's been awesome. We've had anybody from distillers, we've had nonprofits from Tyler, we've had organ transplant coordinators, we have organ transplant folks, we've had mobile cigar lounges. I mean, we've had a little bit of everything, and that's why I love it so much. Is I'm learning a ton as I go, and through you guys that are doing it, and it's awesome. It's just been an awesome experience.
Yeah, before, when you asked me about this, I'd listened to a couple,
Yeah.
but I was like, okay, I'm going to refresh myself on the format, and then one I picked happened to be the investigator from the Garland.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, that one's edge of the seat. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have listened to this one.
Yeah,
I don't think
he's
I'm going to be as compelling.
He's a great,
edge of the seat.
Yeah, he's a great
talk on that,
storyteller
yeah.
for sure. All right, cool. All right, so swinging over here. Hey, all right, so thank you so much for having us here, and thank you so much for your story. Really appreciate it. All right, so this episode's done. I think this is episode number 34. And we have an interesting guest coming up. So here about maybe 6 months ago, we were going to have someone to come on and talk to us about Botox. Unfortunately, they had to cancel due to some medical things popping up. But we have a new guest that's coming on that's going to talk about Botox and some of the benefits that we don't necessarily think about. So it's not just about lip filler and things like that. We're going to talk about migraines and all those good things that Botox can treat. So looking forward to that, and thanks so much for supporting us.